Evening. Welcome to Beaumont City Council regular council meeting for Tuesday, April 29th, 2025 at 5 p.m. here in Beaumont City Council chambers. We are called to order. Our first order of business is the land acknowledgement, which is the City of Beaumont respects the histories, languages, and cultures of all First Peoples of this land, whether it be a First Nation, Métis, or Inuit descent, and appreciates that their presence continues to enrich vibrant communities across the land. As we gather here in Treaty 6 territory in the homeland of Métis Nation, we acknowledge we are all treaty people have ongoing responsibilities to protect and honor the treaty, the inherent rights of the people, and the land. A couple short announcements before we begin. This is a special council meeting, an additional council meeting, not special, sorry. We got the clerk got the nod there. Nothing special, regular, but an additional meeting. From our previous meeting, we had some agenda items we had to push to this evening, so this is an additional meeting to our normal schedule. And with that, Councillor Monkoff-Swain had a business trip planned a few weeks ago and cannot make the adjustments. He's not disposed this evening. Councillor Nantalabas is ill today. He won't be joining us unless he feels better and decides to come. I don't think he's going to be able to, though. And then Councillor Van Newkirk is coming in from Red Deer from a business meeting. He'll be coming in hot, as the saying goes. It means fast he can get here. So in the meantime, we have 4 for quorum, and we'll have 5 when Councillor Van Newkirk arrives. So we'll begin our agenda. And when we have 5 people, majority on any vote is 3 of 5 is majority. So that's how we'll conduct our meeting. So having said that, we will now move to the adoption of the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any changes to this evening's agenda? I believe we do.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we do. Administration is asking Council to adopt the agenda with the following changes: removing item 4.3, Civic Center Concept Design Estimate; item 4.6, motion following notice, Councillor Nantalabas, Land Use Bylaw Amendment, Restricted Substance Retail; item 4.7, motion following notice, Councillor Nantalabas, Automated Traffic Enforcement; and item 4.8, motion following notice, Councillor Nantalabas, Service Portal Request System. These items will be added to another agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further changes, I'll make the motion that we adopt the agenda as amended. Madam Clerk, please put the motion on the screen. To be adopted with the following changes. Remove item 4 to be adopted with the following changes. Remove item 4.3, Civic Center Concept Design Estimate. Item 4.6, motion following notice, Councilor Nantalabas, Land Use Bylaw Amendment, Restricted Substance Retail. 4.7, motion following notice, Councilor Nantalabas, Automated Traffic Enforcement, and item 4.8, motion following notice, Councilor Nantalabas, Service Portal Request System. Discussion on the motion, members of council? Seeing none, would you please initiate the voting process? Thank you. Council, would you please vote? Item agenda is our open forum. Madam Clerk, do we have any open forum guests this evening?
Thank you, Mayor. We do have one open forum this evening. If Ms. Nicholas would like to go to the front of the presentation table to start their presentation.
Perfect. Ms. Nichols, welcome to council. Please state your name for the record and your address at home. Please pull the mic a little closer to you so we can hear you nice and clearly. And when you're ready, you have 5 minutes to present, and council may or may not have questions after you're done. So when you're ready, please begin.
All right, my name is Yolanda Nichols. We live at, and this is my husband, Stephen Nichols. We live at 4313 42nd Street here in Beaumont. Good evening, Mayor Daniluk and members of the council. I just wanted to thank you, first of all, for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My husband and I are here as active members of the Beaumont Pickleball community, and we're following up on a letter that I sent each one of you a while back. In that letter, we shared some concerns about the administration's recommendation that 3 rinks and the tennis court and the potential future developer-led construction would actually be sufficient, and not to move forward with the building of a dedicated pickleball court. We respectfully disagree with this recommendation. Tonight, we'd like to provide a bit more context from our own experience and offer some ideas that might help move this initiative forward. So we fully understand that $920,000 for construction and $12,500 per year for maintenance is a significant investment, but we truly believe that the long-term value to our community makes it worthwhile. So to get a better understanding of the current facilities that were recommended by the administration, my husband and I ended up visiting the outdoor rinks suggested for playing pickleball. What we found, unfortunately, was not ideal at all. Of the 3 rinks, only 2 of them had pickleball lines and nets available. The surface is plain cement, which is very slippery and potentially dangerous, especially for the older and younger players. They are not safe, purpose-built environments suitable for a growing sport. As for the tennis courts, while 2 do have marked pickleball lines, the surface is in poor condition, with many visible cracks that makes playing difficult and unsafe. We learned from the legislative assistant, and thank you very much for that information, that these courts were originally installed in the 1980s and have never been resurfaced. They've been repainted but not resurfaced. Well, that's over 40 years without a major upgrade. We also found out that the annual maintenance budget for the tennis courts is $6,000, and that is actually part of the broader open space hard surface program, meaning that the $6,000 has to be spread over multiple facilities, which of course raises the concern about whether or not the courts are receiving the care that they actually needed to stay safe and playable. Pickleball is now being taught in the schools, right from grade 1 to grade 12, and many of you might know little ones that are taking the sport. This is absolutely awesome. We are enthusiastic players, and we love the love for sport. The thing is, though, that as more young people are being introduced to the sport, they naturally would want to play and kind of practice their skills as well after school hours. Well, right now, their only option is those rinks and the tennis courts, and they are already substandard, as mentioned before. Not only that, when they get to the rink or to the tennis courts, they have to open the bin to get the nets out, set it all up, and then after the game, put it all back. And some of them are just too small or are just not capable of doing that. Then the developer build courts, which were recommended by the administration, right now are not available. They are in the planning stage and currently undergoing city approval process. Plus, so far, we're only aware of 1 developer that's actually thinking about it, not anybody else. These developer-led initiatives are often private amenities and only for the residents of that development. That leaves the rest of the community with little or no access and further fragment our player base. Pickleball is a social sport. Players thrive on gathering, playing together, and building community. Scattered, limited courts across town or reserving them from private use just doesn't support that at all. Beaumont already has more than 250 active pickleball players, ranging from the age 7 to 80 and up, and the number keeps growing. Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in North America. Pickleball is an inclusive, intergenerational sport that brings people together, promotes lifelong health, and builds lasting relationships and friendships. Just look at all these guys here. So a dedicated 12-court facility would give everyone a safe and accessible place to play. It would also position Beaumont to host tournaments, bringing visitors, supporting local businesses, and increasing our city's profile. Many of us travel to nearby communities to play, and when we do, we often stay afterwards for a meal or a coffee and supporting their local community. We'd love to do the same here for Beaumont. We also believe that there may be creative solutions to help make the courts happen. For example, the Beaumont District Agricultural Society is actually looking to add, are you okay with that? Yeah, new amenities to their site. So since the city is already partnered with them in agricultural, cultural, or recreational initiatives, perhaps an opportunity to explore the partnership for a pickleball facility could come out to as well. Please reconsider the administrative recommendation. Let's pursue more forward-thinking solutions that meet the need of the growing, health-focused, and socially connected community. I thank you for your time, your consideration, and continued dedication to making Beaumont a better place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah.
You had 5 minutes, you can't speak. Sorry
Well,
about
I
that.
don't think
Sorry,
I
good
had to
looking.
add anything. That was.
That's okay. That was fine. Thank you very much for the presentation. As I mentioned to you previously, the recommendation in the report is simply a recommendation
Right.
at this time. So I do believe we have that item on our agenda this evening to speak about again from a previous meeting. There may be some discussion on moving it to budget time, but I'll wait that discussion, which you're welcome to stay for. In the meantime, as pickleball is a very social sport, I know many people in town who play it, and they do stay for coffee and else places, so it's a very valid concern. So the information you provided on the tennis courts as well too has been on my radar as well, but having it stated factually and publicly is also very important and very helpful. So with that, members of council, any question you may have for our presenter this evening on her presentation about pickleball? Councillor Barnhart, you have the floor.
I'm getting caught up to speed here. Thank you, Mayor. You mentioned 12 courts.
Courts.
And I think we've heard the price for 8.
That's correct.
Can you just clarify why you said 12 and why we have
Because I guess
cost for
12
8?
would be our dream. Because we've been to many like tournaments, and they would have a minimum of 12 courts, and then you can have lots of people participating, and those people, of course, would then spend their money within our local community. So 12 would allow for having lots of people play. We go to Leduc quite a bit, and they have 12 courts there, and it allows all of us to get together and
So it's just a discrepancy in terms of the number?
yeah. And I realized then the numbers that I quoted were based on your 8.
And then the only other thing, I wondered if you could just talk a little bit more about the use of the indoor facilities that we have in Beaumont, the schools, the gym, et cetera. How's that going?
Well, the schools are kind of off limits because the schools are through Black Gold, and we would have to book a school facility like the gym through Black Gold, and then that, of course, raises the concern about insurance. If it's booked by the rec center, like they can book it because in the past they have held pickleball lessons and game time at the schools, but then it's sponsored through the city of Beaumont through the rec center, and then your insurance would be cover that. So the schools are kind of off. We do have 4 courts that we play on regularly at the rec center, and there are certain times. So right now we really feel that it's short on time. We just don't seem to have a lot. If you're retired, there's a fair bit of time in the mornings, but if you're not, which we're not, we would like to kind of play in the evening and have more time in the evening. We recognize lots of kids' activities do happen, and that's why we feel we need another facility to allow us to do that.
Just needed to get caught up on that piece.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Totally
Thank
get
you very
that.
much.
Thank you, Ms. Barnard.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further questions, members of council? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation, and you'll listen to our discussion later on the item on our agenda this evening. So thank you for your
Sounds good.
presentation.
Thank you.
And for joining us at council. Thank you very much. Councilor Newkirk has joined us. Welcome, Stephen. Next on our item is business items. First is item 4.1, 2025 business amendment. Mr. Boharchuk? I can't see your microphone. Which one are you? There you are. Hang on a second. I think your microphone is, you're on, you're good. Please present when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Steve Boharchuk. I'm the Director of Finance here at City of Beaumont. I'm here today to seek council support for the amendment on 4 capital projects. The projects are largely housekeeping in nature. I'll go through some of them in detail, but just want to emphasize that this is through the normal budget process, and in the past you may not have seen funding changes. The way the previous financial leadership managed the budget was a little bit different than the approach that I take, so I like to get council authority for all of the reserve transactions and grant changes, so that's why you're seeing a little bit of change of a process. With that, I'll move on to, adjustment number 1 is combining the 2025 football spotter tower with the coaching tower project from 2024 that had a carry forward. We feel that we can get a better price through making this one project through procurement, and then we would grant fund the entire amount of it. This would, as we were discovering through the grant application process, this is a better fit for our usage. that would have a positive impact on our grant position, or pardon me, reserve position. Adjustments 2, 3, and 4. So we have the 2025 Drainage Improvement Program, we have the Cenotaph Item 4, and the 2025 Open Space Outdoor Furnishings growth projects. Part of the budget process as we were determining funding sources for all of the capital projects included trying to maximize the grant usage and save the position of the city's finances. Not that we were overzealous, but sometimes the grant applications don't meet full qualifications as the advisors review and send that back. And so we did have the 3 projects that we had tried to grant fund be deemed ineligible by the granting bodies. So we are looking to do essentially a 2-year funding swap where we would seek to use reserve funds for this year, and then subsequently we would grant fund with the savings that we are no longer grant funding this year, would grant fund a project that next year we would be using reserves. So it's essentially a timing change. There is no net impact over the 2-year period. We would see a decrease in our reserves this year, but then we would find we would use more grant funding next year in that amount. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. First question is for myself. So adjustment 1 will still be done in the year 2025, correct? It'll be done this year?
Mr. Mayor, that is my understanding, yes.
Yes, thank you for clarifying. That's what I thought it meant. Members of council, any questions for the presentation on the budget adjustments on capital? Councilor McCook, Kat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. So just to confirm, you just said it, but I want to make sure I'm very clear. So there's no impact to the reserves over the period. There will be initially, but over the 2-year period, due to the swap, there will be no impact to reserves.
Yes, so through the mayor to Councilor McCook, that is correct. The plan would be that we would fund a normally reserve funded program next year with these grant dollars instead and reclaim the reserve position. So it would be net 0 over the 2 years.
Okay. And would we be at risk of some of those other potential projects getting denied by the grant funding, or these will be projects that we know will be covered by grant?
Every year there is, so asset maintenance is very high on the granting body's eligibility list. These are somewhere deemed to be assets, but not fully appreciated by the province. This year we applied in the neighborhood of $9 million of grants, and so we're only missing out on a couple $100,000. So there will be a like submission next year for eligible projects, so I don't see any risk with us not being able to spend these grant dollars on eligible projects next year.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further questions, members of council, for our presenter on this topic? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, to put the motion on the screen, please. I'll make the motion that an amendment to the 2025 municipal capital budget as set out in attachment 1 of the April 29, 2025 report be approved. Discussion on the motion, members of council. See no discussion, would you please initiate the voting process? And that vote carries unanimously, 5-0 in favor of the motion. Thank you, council. Thank you, Jay, for the presentation. Next on our agenda is item 4.2, Pickleball Court Design Project Report. Mr. Lewicki, I believe you're presenting this evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. For those watching remotely and others who may not know me, my name is Aaron Lewicki, Director of Infrastructure for the City of Beaumont. Tonight I will provide an update on the pickleball court design project. Council approved this project as part of the 2025 capital budget that includes siting, design, and estimated costs for construction of 8 pickleball courts in Beaumont. 3 potential sites were identified where the pickleball courts could be constructed, including the West Recreation Site, Colonial Park, and Rousseau Park. The Recreation and Cultural Advisory Committee was engaged, and the most desirable location identified by the committee for the pickleball courts was Rousseau Park. The concept design and layout of the pickleball courts is provided in attachment 1, as shown on the screen. The Rousseau site is not available for construction until 2026. The site will accommodate street parking near the courts and placement of the courts within the park space, has maximized distance away from the nearest dwelling units. However, noise mitigation elements have been included in the design scope for the pickleball courts to reduce any noise concerns that may impact the nearby neighborhood. The design does not include lighting, electricity infrastructure, washrooms, or storage facilities. The high-level estimated cost to construct 8 pickleball courts at this location is $920,000, with an estimated operating cost of $12,500 annually to ensure proper upkeep of the facility. Actual tender pricing could substantially differ from the estimated pricing provided. The time frame required to construct this facility is estimated at 5 months, with work to occur between the months of May and September. Engagement with the surrounding neighborhood will be conducted in mid-2025 prior to further progression of the design. If neighborhood engagement efforts are generally supportive of construction of this facility at this location, design work will continue throughout 2025 with a more refined cost estimate available later in 2025. However, if engagement efforts are interpreted to not be supportive of the facility at this current proposed location, administration will bring back an alternative location to council. Also of note, the Larev developer plans to build 2 pickleball courts in Larev Park this year, with construction expected to begin later this summer with a 2026 completion date. I should note that these will be public courts, they are not private. Additionally, the city is in discussions with another developer regarding future installation of 2 more courts in the northeast. Currently, Beaumont has 2 of the 4 tennis courts east of Gobeil Park marked with pickleball lines, offering 4 pickleball courts. The city is in the process of trying to add additional courts at this location for 2025. My understanding is that we're looking to add 2 additional courts, or lines for 2 additional courts, I should clarify. There's also indoor facilities available for pickleball. However, there are currently no exclusive dedicated outdoor pickleball courts in Beaumont. Considering the city's competing financial pressures and the upcoming developer-led pickleball court construction, administration does not recommend proceeding with the construction of additional pickleball courts at this time. If council wishes to proceed with construction of pickleball courts, administration recommends evaluating this capital project alongside the broader 10-year capital plan during council's 2026 budget deliberations, considering overall funding availability and project prioritization. I will now turn it over to council for any questions. Thank you.
Ms. Malicki, thank you very much for your presentation. At this time, council, I'll take questions from council, clarifying questions, and then I'll entertain any motions on this pickleball report. So with that, open to questions. Councilor Newkirk, you have the floor first. Steve?
Yeah, thank you. No questions for me, Mayor. I'll be looking to put a motion out there, though.
Okay, that's what I assumed, so that's fine. I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind then. So Mr. Lewicki, if you could please, my first question of 2 is that clarification, there's no electricity anticipated in this price quote at this time, correct? So it wouldn't be any nighttime playing beyond dusk when the street lights come on?
To the mayor, that is correct. There is no electricity in that quoted price at this time.
Okay, that's what I assumed. And also, I'm assuming no water for washrooms or that sort of thing. That's just to clarify for
Also
people.
correct.
Thank you very much. And the second question I have is, you mentioned some engagement with perhaps local residents in the area to determine acceptability by the residents. Do we have any idea what the measuring stick's going to be for that? For example, if 2 people complain versus, say, 200 people complaining that they don't want to have it there, what's anticipation of how we're going to level the engagement of residents to determine if it's a suitable site or not? What is your expectation how that's going to work at this point?
To the mayor, basically we've hired a consulting firm that specializes in engagement efforts, and so they will be engaging with the surrounding local neighborhood to determine support or non-support, and there's going to be a scale that they use to determine whether or not it will be determined as a move forward or
Okay, so
look for
we'll get a
alternatives.
report that provides recommendations based on the engagement.
Correct.
Thank you, that's good for right now. Thank you. That, for that, pardon me. I have several councilors wishing to speak at this time, so I'll begin with Councilor Penrod, followed by Councilor Barnhart. Phil, you have the floor.
Thanks, Mayor Daniluk. Appreciate the report and the opportunity to discuss it. And I didn't get a chance earlier, or didn't take the chance, I should say, but thank you for your presentation at Public Forum earlier today. Question around joint use agreements. The current plan doesn't include any, as clarified by the mayor, any anticipated electrical service or water service. As that part of the sports field, does the Francophone school have any responsibility for that part, or is that set back off of the school board's property per se? I'm just wondering if there's any opportunities here to work with the school as that whole area is built out for recreational purposes, including school site, and this piece feels like it's just immediately adjacent. If there's any opportunity there to tie into services that they may already be running.
Through the mayor to Councillor Penrod, at this point, we were trying to get a facility in there and try to consider costs and trying to keep it as reasonable as we could. It's possible. They're not connected sites. They're separate. So bringing any service to the courts would likely require a separate service and trenching and additional costs. Obviously, we haven't looked at that cost, but that would be an additional consideration and cost.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And maybe you can just remind me, I know I've asked this question before, but because we don't deal with it every day, it's months between when I get the clarification. Can you just say a little bit more about what constitutes a Class D estimate and what that would compare to?
Through the mayor to Councillor Penrod, a Class D estimate is a very high-level cost based on a concept, a concept design. Basically, the picture you see it's very high level. It doesn't consider site-specific conditions. It doesn't consider if there's excessive amounts of fill that have to be removed. It doesn't consider other unknown risks necessarily. It's very high level. Once we get into further design, we're able to refine those costs further and get us to a more accurate estimate. So at this point, we draw something on a map, we get some costs from other facilities of a similar nature, Leduc being one of them, for instance, and we put a cost to it. But that doesn't consider any site-specific concerns that may increase the cost, or it may even decrease the cost. That's where you get that refinement. Your refinement can be less, it could be more, depending.
Thank you. So if I could summarize, we funded in budget 2025 the design for this, and it sounds like we're in the design process and we're refining costs as we go through the design process. And as we move through that process, we'll move from a D level costing to an A level costing where we're more confident in the final prices of the.
Through the mayor to Councillor Penrod, that is correct. Basically, as you see here, this is a concept design. Basically, it's a picture of a pickleball court with costs that are similar to what we might expect. The next step would be, as I indicated in my presentation, would be further engagement with the community to make sure that we have support to have the facility where we're suggesting that the committee would like to have it. Then we would go through and do that further refinement, some geotechnical work, look at the ground conditions, and then base the more refined design on that, which would give us a more refined cost.
Yeah, thank you. And then just one more question, Mayor. Maybe anticipating a little bit where Councillor Van Nieuwkerk is going with this, so I won't go too deep into it, but so we've kind of initiated this process through budget 2025. It was a plan and then build proposal, so with planning in 2025 and a proposed build in 2026. And then this report is one of the first reports we're hearing back from council, and it includes some additional information or recommendation from administration that includes additional courts that are being proposed to be built in the community, and then the recommendation not to proceed with a build in 2026, just to clarify that process, so that it would be council that would make that decision, and that decision isn't required today as far as I understand, but rather at in the budget process for 2026. Is that correct?
Through the Mayor to Councillor Penrod, yes, essentially what this project for 2025 is to design the courts. Right now, we've got the concept. We're going into additional engagement efforts to see if there's support. If the support is there, we will complete the design for the end of the year with an anticipated build date of another year as per council's ability to approve or deny the project. Now, should that engage, as I indicated in my presentation, should that engagement provide negative feedback or non-support for the project, we will have to look at other locations or considerations and recommendations to bring back to council.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have now. I'll wait with interest to hear Councillor Van Newkirk's motion.
Thank you, Councillor. I have Councillor Barnhart, followed by Councillor McCook, and I'll finish up with Councillor Van Newkirk. Any questions? And for his motion, he's got coming as stated earlier. So Councillor Barnhart, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Penrod, thank you, because I think you brought forward some of the information I was going to ask. But Mr. Lewicki, I'm not understanding why you're bringing forward that information with the recommendation to not proceed when we haven't finished the consultation yet. I'm not following that. It's kind of putting me in a place where I don't even know yet if this is the right place to go. We don't have high-level costs. How can I say no to a project at this stage? So when it's something that obviously we need and want. So I just don't understand that. Can you help me understand, if we approve this as information, are we not then saying we agree with your recommendation? And that's not what I think we should be hearing now.
Through the Mayor to Councillor Barnhart, the idea behind accepting it for information is that we are proceeding with a design as per council direction from the 2025 budget. The consideration later is that we're suggesting that any decisions around the construction piece be considered with the rest of upcoming budget in 26. Does that make
Well,
sense?
Mr. Lewicki, we would be doing that anyway. That's what I don't understand, why we're kind of looking as if we're not sure we're going to proceed. And I think council has directed the administration to design it, bring it back with the costs, and proceed. So I appreciate you giving us an opportunity for second thought, but it is a bit confusing, and I understand why people are concerned about that. One last question, just to be on the safe side here. I want to make sure I understand. Is the developer absolutely proceeding with those pickleball courts, or is that something that's still somewhat unsure?
Through the Mayor to Councillor Barnhart, my understanding is that they are proceeding with 2 courts and there is consideration of additional courts, but I don't know the status of that at this point.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McCook, followed by Councillor Van Newkirk. Kat, you have the floor.
Thank you. Yes, most of my stuff have kind of been answered. Just on the tennis courts real quick, do we have a schedule as to when the tennis courts are due for any sort of refresh, renewal?
Through the Mayor to Councillor McCook, at this point, there is no plans right now to resurface the courts other than to paint more pickleball lines on the courts.
Okay, thank you. And then for the sound barrier piece, is this still I presume this is still very high level. Do we know what kind of sound barrier? Do we know any of those details?
Through the Mayor to Councillor McCook, I'm not aware of specific sound mitigation technologies that they will be using as part of this project. I do know that what they've put in their high-level estimate would be consistent with what other pickleball facilities would use for noise mitigation measures. I'm just not able to identify what those are at this point.
Okay, thank you. And then is that part of the consideration during the consultation piece?
Through the mayor to Councillor McCook, yes. Basically, neighboring residents will be told about what the facility is, what kind of things they can expect living near a facility such as this, and basically that'll be included as part of their engagement effort.
Okay, thank you. I'm in alignment with Councillor Barnhart. I think this is something that we've heard a lot from the community about, and I'd like to see the process kind of continue to move forward so we can have more information in front of us to make a better decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Newkirk, Stephen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question, I guess, following the presentation. I'm a little bit confused following the questions some of my fellow councillors have asked here now. So let me just ask this. If council just accepted this report as information, what would administration be doing with this based upon the previous motions from Budget 2025?
Through the mayor to Councillor Van Newkirk, we will be following through with further engagement and refinement of the design. Unless, of course, the engagement identifies non-support, then we would be looking to bring back an alternative recommendation to council.
Okay, this report doesn't state that. So the motion I want to bring forward is I want to keep this conversation alive. The community wants to keep this conversation alive, but the report doesn't state what you just said. So the motion that I want to bring forward is to make sure that we include this item in 2026 budget deliberations. But what I just heard is that if I do that, then is the work that's in front of you still going to continue? My goal here is not to stop work that would otherwise be done.
Through the mayor,
Can you comment on that, please?
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor Van Newkirk, by accepting that, and correct me if I'm wrong, clerk, if this is accepted for information, we would simply, we would be carrying out council's approved budget ask in 25 to complete the design for the end of 25.
Okay.
So I wouldn't think that a motion would be required for that.
Madam Clerk?
Yeah, procedurally, I can speak to this. So administration has from council, from the budget deliberations, to move forward with doing the work that is approved in the 2025 budget. That information, that will still continue on.
Okay.
If this report was accepted for information, it's just for information. A report would come back to council in that engagement piece on whether or not the public was for this or against it. Do we need to find new? The report is suggesting not to build out these in 2026, but the work still continue in 2025, and perhaps taking that capital funding and keeping it in the capital and pushing it to another year. I do realize that's not in the report, but that was the intention.
Yeah, okay, no, that's fine. So I think my wish here is to have the work that would otherwise be completed continue. And then I would like to put forward a motion to make sure that this item is considered at 2026 budget. Does that make sense procedurally?
Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Councillor Van Newkirk. Yes, so the motion that I have ready for you is to continue this conversation and bringing it into 2026, and administration will continue with the 2025 funding on the project and what's being done.
Perfect. So we're full steam ahead on what was already approved in budget 2025, and then the motion I put forward now, supposing it passes, would make sure that at 2026 budget deliberations, no matter the council sitting here, that item be on the table in that discussion.
Correct. Administration would bring it with the 2026. This budget, should it be passed, would have administration to do that.
Perfect. Let's do that, please.
Yep. Did you turn your mic off? Hang on a second, Steve. I'll get your mic back on again. No problem. It's on.
You timed me out or what?
I didn't touch it.
Thank you, Mayor. I would move that the costs associated with completing the pickleball court construction budget deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. You wish to speak to your motion at this time?
No, I think I provided the clarity that I needed to in my preamble here. I just wanted to make sure that this item keeps moving forward. There's a lot of passion in the community for pickleball, and we need to just keep moving forward with this. If we want to talk about more servicing or more courts or any of those things, sure, let's talk about it at budget. My wish is not to complicate things now with that conversation. Let's finish the work that's approved. Let's get to budget, and we can talk about what the project looks like, and go from there. It's unfortunate that the budget pressures have been presupposed in this report by administration, because council can't make a decision based upon that because we don't have a wholesome budget picture. Administration, must have, well, they always have more information than us around what budget items are coming, but sitting here today, I don't know what those are that would presuppose this, so I think we should move this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Mr. Lewicki, just a quick thing. Your comments this evening, great report. Your comments really helped put some clarity and some color to the report. I kind of had a misinterpretation myself. Your verbal explanation really added to the context of the report, so thank you for that. This is make sure we're getting clarified, because a couple times it was said end of 2025. Well, we begin budget in November. And in 2025 could be December. So I was going to ask that question for clarity. So this motion and your comments do clarify. Do you want to add an additional comment? If you'd like to, your microphone is on.
To the mayor, depending on how the engagement goes and that kind of thing, I think that there's a possibility that we might not have the final number for budget, but we would have a further refined number. It might not be the final number, but it would get us where we needed to go.
It'll be close.
Yeah. I just
Give or
want to
take.
the design might not quite be ready, depending on the timelines of things, but
Okay.
we'll figure it out.
Good. But again, your additional comments provided some color and clarity. Very much appreciated. Councillor Penrod, do you have a comment before I go to the vote? Phil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one comment for Mr. Lewicki and then a question for Ms. Morrison. Mr. Lewicki, thank you. I maybe look at this report a little different than some of the other councillors' comments. It just occurs to me today that there's a lot of transparency here. And so although it caused some alarm in the Pickler community, which I'm sorry for, but you know what it did do is create some conversation, and people jumped on it, and we heard a lot from folks, and the community's a little more organized with their ask. We're a little clearer on the needs in the community, I think, and that's never a bad thing. I think these considerations are often happening in the background, and one of the things I hear often in the community is that folks would like more transparency, more see-through to all of the factors that administration is wrestling with on our behalf. And so we maybe learned some things along the way, but I think we can check the transparency box here. And I'm always thankful for that. Ms. Morrison, just wanted to clarify, in the past, and Mr. Bohachek had spoken to, we've had some changeover in leadership in our finance department, and some processes are changing. In past years, we've had the opportunity as a council in the summer to sit down and make a priority list, adding and subtracting to that 10-year capital plan. Is that on the books for this year, that we'll continue with that exercise?
Oh, hang on, Ms. Morrison, I'm going to find your microphone. There you go.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Councillor Penrod. We are still actually determining what that process will look like this summer. Again, we're proposing several changes and what actually can be accomplished this year. There will definitely be an opportunity of sort for council to discuss priorities when it comes to capital. I just would like to jump back, maybe a little clarity on this particular process. of course, everything, what was approved in 2025, and council had asked administration to come back with a report before the end of Q2, and thus Mr. Lewicki providing this additional information that was not available through the 2025 budget deliberations. And of course, we'll come forward then with more information to look at for the 2026 budget deliberations in the context of the full capital plan and the other priorities that council has brought forward. So hopefully that sort of looped the whole conversation together.
Give me 1 second. Thank you, Councillor. You're done with your question? Thank you. So no further questions, members of council? I'll call for the vote. Madam Clerk, would you, oh, sorry, before I do, any last comments on your motion, Councillor? I'm assuming you're good. Thank you. Would you please initiate the voting process? Give me a second here to pull it up. There it is. Okay. Thank you, Council. That motion carries unanimously, 5-0 in favor of the motion to bring it forward for our budget 2026 budget deliberations. Thank you, Council. Questions? And I think we're going to lose our crowd here. Okay. We're going to lose our crowd here. Okay. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all. Thank you. Probably see you at budget.
And then there was one.
Yeah, and then some. Okay, thank you, Council. Our next item on our agenda is 4.4, 2024 Annual Report to the Community. Mr. Berezowski, I believe you're presenting this evening. And when you're ready, I'll grab your mic here. There you go.
Thank you, Mayor Daniluk and Council. My name is Mike Berezowski. I'm the Director of Communications, and I'm sad that I don't have the audience for such a valuable and interesting part of our agenda tonight. I'll keep it short and sweet, though. This is the 2024 report on the report to the community. It provides an update on the progress, achievements, and highlights accomplished by council and administration in the past year. Once council receives it for information, we will be getting it translated into French, posted on the website, and shared on social media and with the news release. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I appreciate that. Question, members of council, on the 2024 annual report to the community. I'm sure you had all a chance to go through it, and any questions you may have. Councilor McCook, you have the floor, followed by Councilor Van Nieuwkerk. Kat?
The report looks great, and I know there's a lot of work that goes into this report and making it look the way it looks. And I especially appreciate the status piece. I think that's really important as well, where it shows, I don't know if we can scroll, but where it shows where we are at that and what the next steps are. I think it, to Councillor Penrod's point, when we talk about transparency and everything like that, it gives a good idea as to where we're at and what we're working towards and whether a project is done or not, and not just this is what we've done. It still shows this is what we're working towards. So I appreciate that, and I think the report looks great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. You read my mind with comments, so I won't bother echoing those comments. You said it very well. Councillor Van Nieuwkerk, Stephen, you have the floor.
Yeah, just a big thank you to Mike, you and your team on the continued taking visuals throughout the community at all the events, because all of the visuals in here are made in Beaumont visuals, and they're from Beaumont events. And, back up a bunch of years, that wasn't the case. And now we've put a concerted effort into making sure everything is just doing a bang-up job. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll echo those comments as well. Great work and good looking report. It looks extremely professional and good information. So great work. A lot of effort, time and effort is into this, and it's much appreciated. Any further comments, members of council, for this report? Seeing none, I'll entertain the motion from information to accept the report as information. Madam Clerk, if you could put the motion on the screen. Report be received for information. Council, discussion on the motion? Seeing none, please initiate the voting process. That carries unanimously, 5-0 in favor of the motion. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mr. Berezowski. Item 4.5, motion following notice. Councillor Van Newkirk, access control system at the BSRC. Madam Clerk, would you please put the motion on the screen? Councillor Newkirk, when you're ready, please make your motion and speak to it.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, I move that by the 2026 budget deliberations, a report outlining feasible options and the associated costs for implementing an access control system at the BSRC, i.e. access card verification system, with the intent to control participant and spectator access be considered. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Would you speak your motion at this time, if you'd like to?
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.
So tonight, Council, I'm asking for your support on this motion. There is a need to further improve security at the BSRC beyond what the addition of security offers on site has been able to accomplish. There have been too many incidents at the BSRC, and we need to do more to get on the better side of these issues. I've put forward the idea here of the implementation of exploring the concept of an access control system at our facility. I believe it's important to know who is in our facilities. These types of systems are not at all uncommon across different communities, and in fact, this past weekend, I was in a recreation facility in Calgary where there was a clearly stated expectation that photo ID or membership cards were required for all those 12 years and older. I've had similar experiences in other communities, such as Kelowna at the H2O Centre. So in closing, Mayor, we have to start doing more, and we have to try something different, and that's what I'm attempting to do here. I did work with administration on the wording of this to leave enough flexibility in there, because, maybe, feasible options and associated costs, if there's a better idea out there, feasible options covers it. And if it turns out that access control system is the way to go, there's enough flexibility administration has shared with me that they can work within this motion. So, Council, I ask for your support on this motion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I appreciate that. Councillor Penrod, you have the floor first. Phil?
Thank you, Mayor Daniluk. I wish I could say I'm happy to support this motion. I'm not. I wish I could say I enthusiastically support it. I can't. I definitely support it. I'm not happy that we have this problem in our community, but we do, and we're aware of it, and we're aware that the problem is escalating. And as such, I think this becomes a necessary cost. It's a cost that's been thrust upon us. It's not one that we have the opportunity to control. And if anything, I think this motion, to your point, is open enough that it allows administration to come up with the best, most cost-effective, underlying effective measure that can be taken to improve safety. When we look at our mandate as councillors under the MGA, it talks about good government, fostering well-being of the environment, fostering ECDEV. More to the point of this motion, providing beneficial services, facilities, and things, developing, maintaining safe and viable communities, and then we get on to the neighborliness. So at least a third of the core responsibilities that our council are addressed in this motion. I'll certainly be supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor. For the discussion on the motion from members of council. Seeing none, I do agree with Councillor Newkirk's motion. Administration has done the best they can to sort of address the problem, given the resources that they're currently dealing with based on council service levels and what our budget allows for personnel. It's not enough, despite their best efforts. We need to do something different, as you said in your report, in your comments, Councilman Newkirk. So I'll be supporting this motion when it comes to a vote. I'll ask one more time, any questions from members of council on this notice of motion? Seeing none, would you please initiate the voting? Oh, sorry, any last comments, Councilman Newkirk, on your motion? Seeing none, would you please initiate the voting process on this motion? And that motion carries unanimously, 5 as you do as well, when it comes back to us in the fall. Next on our agenda with the changes we made is item number 5.1, Councillor inquiries, response and reports. Any councillor inquiries this evening? I'm not aware of any, but some may have come since earlier today. Seeing none, next on our agenda is item 6.0, CAU update. CO Schwartz is on vacation. Ms. Morrison, I believe you're filling in for CO Schwartz this evening. So when you're ready, you have the floor for any report you have for him.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. On behalf of CAO Schwartz, I'm pleased to provide the CAO I've been looking forward to is that the Old Yale Brewery will be celebrating its grand opening this week. When is that the correct date? Wednesday, May 1st. So that's exciting news that that's finally opening up. From Protective Services, as all are aware here, and the public being aware that the wildfire that started on Saturday, April 26th at around 1300 hours was brought under control by 1700 hours of that day, with all responding units back in service by just after midnight on Sunday, April 27th. The incident involved a very coordinated response from the City of Edmonton, the City of Leduc, Leduc County Fire Services, with support from the RCMP, city staff, and 2 dozers provided by local contractors. So an extremely large team effort to address this situation. The fire was effectively managed without any reported injuries or damage to emergency services equipment. A post-incident analysis was conducted earlier today with all the city staff involved, and an investigation into the cause of the fire is currently underway. Community Services. Volunteer Appreciation Week. Community-nominated volunteers are being recognized for their outstanding commitment and dedication. As a token of our gratitude, each volunteer will receive a thank you goodie bag in recognition of their valuable contributions and time sacrifice. The activity guide for the upcoming summer program session has officially been released. We're excited to offer a wide range of activities and for all ages, and registration is opening very soon on May 5th. The Community Volunteer Income Tax Program is wrapping up with 60 residents served and 4 volunteers who took the time to assist low-income residents with completing their income taxes prior to the deadline this week. 6 Youth Advisory Committee members attended the Unite to Lead conference in Fort Saskatchewan, a conference comprised of other Youth Advisory Committee and Youth Council members in the region, understanding that this was a well-attended and well-received conference. March was a very active month for the Youth Center, with over 403 intakes across drop-in and registered programs, 132 of which were programs like Tournament Night, Cooking Club, and the Karaoke Night. Drop-in attendance remained strong, with one evening having 37 youth. The center also welcomed 18 new members in March, contributing to 41 new registrations over the past 2 months. Community engagement continued through school presentations, Pride Day planning, and involvement with local GSA groups. Facility rentals remain in high demand. So this is an initiative from the administration in the area to really get that message out that it is available. And this will mean that the Youth Center is on track to meet its annual rental revenue target by April. So very exciting there. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. Any questions, members of council, for the CAO?
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks for the report, Ms. Morrison. There's always nuggets buried in, and I feel like we don't always give these reports the justice that they're due. To that point, I had a cursory look on the website and I couldn't find an archive of CAO updates. Do we do that? Maybe that's a question. Yeah, so is that something that we could consider? That part of this is coming from a request I saw on, I hate to admit it, social media this weekend, looking for more context for our transit ridership numbers. I know that we're tracking those closely. We hear them at least monthly through the CAO update. And I'd love, in that case, I would have loved to have been able to point someone to publicly available information just to correct some of the misinformation that's out there sometimes.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Councillor Penrod. What we could do is on item 6 of the agenda, or where it falls on the agenda under CAO update, for the following meeting when we bring it back, similar to the councillor inquiries, we can add it to that so it forms part of the agenda.
Great. Yeah, and then it'd be searchable on the website, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
unfortunately, we don't have the CAO because usually it's up-to-date information the day
Yeah.
of the actual council meeting, so it would just be one agenda behind. So if that is agreeable to council, we can definitely add that as part of it as an information item only.
That would seem acceptable to me. That the main point is really to have that backlog of catalog of information that people can
Absolutely.
search through.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
can do that.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further members of council with questions on CAO update? Seeing none, I'll take this opportunity to express thanks from council. I had a number of phone calls from residents saying how great the response was to the wildfire. And it's amazing how dangerous those things can really be until they actually happen. It's close to your doorstep. People think it happens way far away. This is quite close to Beaumont. And we had an excellent response time from our own fire services. I believe almost all of our volunteers came out at some point during the weekend, and they got there pretty quick. And we also had help from our friends in Leduc City, and Leduc County at Edmonton. I believe we have up to 20 different pieces of apparatus out there at one point or another fighting the fire. So, and I believe a developer came out with a couple of D9s to help us do a fire break. So I'm not sure the developer was, but I'm sure we can pass on our regards from the council for their efforts to assist us in that situation. And we saved property, no damage to any property, just some burnt grass and that's but that still can be got out of hand very quickly. So our crews did a fantastic job, and it was noted on social media. Many people were very complimentary on the quality of our services. And you don't know until you need them till you need them, and when you need them, they're there. And it made a very big difference to us. So again, please pass on regards and thank you from council. They probably saw a social media post, but please pass on our thanks to their stellar efforts this past weekend. Thank you. Next on our agenda is item 7, notices of motion. Madam Clerk, do we have any notices of motion this evening? I believe we have one, I believe. Madam Clerk, you have the floor.
We do have one. I'll just pop it up here on the screen.
Thank you. Or make the motion, I mean, sorry.
Yeah, so I move that, am I moving or am I given notice that I will move? I will move at an upcoming meeting that the approved 2025 Open Space Outdoor Furnishings Growth Program budget be amended by reallocating $50,000 of the $100,000 to the Urban Forest Management Strategy to partially address the backlog of new trees needing to be planted in our community.
Thank you,
Councillor.
Mayor. I would just like to clarify that this motion will be coming to the May 6th meeting.
May 6th?
Thank you.
Okay, we'll look forward to seeing that at that time. Thank you, Councillor Penrod. No further notice of motion from any members of council that have not been brought forward yet. Seeing none, and that brings us to our last item on the agenda. Nothing closed this evening. It's item 8. We are adjourned at 6:04. Our next meeting is next Tuesday, May 6th, an additional meeting as well. Thank you.